Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of Adaptations of the Hive. Today we're going to be going over the various Hive fleets to choose from, continuing down our list as they are presented in the Codex. That leaves us with today's Hive fleet of Kraken. Kraken was the second Hive fleet to attack the Milky Way and has been known for its speed and hitting the enemy in multiple places at once. It is the first Hive fleet that shows records of Genestealer cults rising up in preparation for the Tyranid invasion. My favorite story being a cult that convinced over half a world just to walk into the Tyranid swarm to be converted by the Star Gods. Hive Fleet Kraken apparently was in a no-win situation though, because it is first described as impossible to defend against since it was so spread out. Only when it combined into a single strong tendril to attack Icar 4 were the Ultramarines able to truly fight and destroy the foe. But then the story kind of goes on to describe how the fleet was divided up and attacked both Icar 4 and the Eldar craft world of Eandon simultaneously, and if it had only attacked them one at a time, Kraken would have been unstoppable. Unfortunately, because it combined into a single massive force and yet attacked two places simultaneously, the Tyranids were destroyed. Whatever, we get it. Tyranids aren't allowed to actually do any real damage despite being a galaxy-ending threat. Anyways, moving on. What is unique about Kraken is that it's a Hive fleet that is all about speed. The Hive fleet trait is the ability to charge even after falling back. Honestly, in 9th edition specifically, this is a huge bonus. Without the ability to fall back and shoot on things with fly anymore, being able to fall back and charge stuff like your opponent's vehicles is really strong. Also, because of how ongoing combats now start with the defending player, you being able to always fall back and charge back in ensures that you're going to be fighting first every turn. The next ability available to Kraken is to roll 3d6 on your advance rolls and pick the highest. This ensures that you basically get at least a 5 on just about every advance roll you have, which is a huge boost as well. Objectives and mobility are king in 9th edition, and being able to ensure that you get to that objective in a single turn makes a huge difference. Pair this with the Kraken stratagem of doubling your advance roll, and you can throw a unit into your opponent's face every turn, which is a strong method to win games through movement blocking and objective denial. Kraken used to be the go-to Hive fleet for the Genestealer slingshot with Swarmlord, which could still be viable. I've talked about how I don't really think Genestealers are quite worth their points anymore. They need to be more durable or have an extra point of strength on their attacks, though that may change if people start to play more Horde armies instead of Marines based on how the new books come out. And I don't think that's going to happen in the next few months, but maybe keep an eye on the meta. And I think Hordes could really make a comeback in about 6 months or so. But anyways, as far as a huge increase in mobility, the units who could use that the most are definitely Genestealers if you do want to take them, but also your hordes of Gaunts. Gaunts with all these abilities to get anywhere you need them to go will make them incredibly efficient at denying your opponent their objectives. And if you're just playing small units of 10 Gaunts, I think that this is the Hive fleet for you. If you're playing large units of 20 or 30 Gaunts, I'd go for a different Hive fleet that makes your Gaunts more durable. But multiple small units getting wherever you need them to go is a really strong way to win in 9th edition. Stealing primaries and taking secondaries like engage on all fronts and deploy scramblers is just a really easy way to win. The other units that benefit from high mobility are things like the Tyrannifex with Acid Spray or Zoanthropes. The Tyrannifex really only uses it on turn 1, but being able to place that Tyrannifex in the middle of the board on that first turn and then park there to double shoot whatever it needs for the rest of the game is really handy. And Zoanthropes having high mobility allows you to get those angles that you need to be able to smite the targets that you want rather than just smiting your opponent's screen. And if you want to play Meiotic Spores, I would say Kraken is probably the best fleet to take them in because you can get that reliable advance roll to get within 3 inches of your opponent on that first turn move. Moving on, let's take a look at the other unique things that Hive Fleet Kraken can provide. Starting with the Kraken-specific relic called Chameleonic Mutation. This is a relic that makes a model -1 to hit from ranged attacks, which used to be the best relic in the Codex. The only negative thing about it being the limited range of models who can take it. It is a decent relic on a Hive Tyrant, but everything else that can take a relic has character protection, so not much point in being -1 to hit from shooting. Overall, the relic's okay, but nothing special. Worth taking, I guess, if you have a Hive Tyrant that's Kraken and you can't think of anything else to take. Next up, we have our Kraken-specific Warlord trait called One Step Ahead. This allows you, in the beginning of each fight phase, you pick a unit within 6 inches of the Warlord to gain the ability of fighting first. Again, this ability is okay, but really nothing special. Especially since you're Kraken, you have fight first every turn just for charging. So I'd honestly just take an Adaptive Physiology instead of this Warlord trait. Then the last unique thing available to Kraken is the psychic power given to it from Blood of Ball. This is called Synaptic Lure and has a warp charge value of 5 and targets any enemy unit. Doesn't have to be within line of sight, doesn't have a range. Just get a warp charge value of 5, pick an enemy unit, and Kraken units reroll charges against that unit. Not a bad power, but again, kind of meh. Just especially because you have the speed being Kraken that most of your charges should be like a 4 or less anyways. It helps a little bit out of Deep Strike, but honestly, I'd rather rely on the speed of the Kraken army rather than risk a rerollable charge from Deep Strike. But overall, if you're wanting to play Kraken, you're going to be playing a melee-centric army that is all about board control. I'd take lots of small units for objective grabbing and maybe one big unit to body block your opponent if you get that first turn. Swarmlord's a good option just to push those movement shenanigans over the edge. And for a pure Kraken list, I'd honestly take something as follows, and I'll post the list of this description in the video down below. But for a pure Kraken list, I'd just take a Battalion and start off with HQs. I would take Swarmlord and Old One-Eye. Swarmlord is, again, really good in Kraken as he just enhances all of those movement shenanigans. And Old One-Eye is always good. It's always just been his delivery that's been a problem. And with Kraken, he's speedy enough that he should be able to make it into your enemy's lines turn 2. Especially if you use Swarmlord on him. For the third HQ, I was thinking about taking a Malanthrope, but that would leave me with a totally useless relic. So instead I went with the Xenomorph Hive Tyrant. What that is a Hive Tyrant with Chameleonic Mutation and then double Scything Talons and Monstrous size. He's basically just another Old One-Eye, except he's -1 to hit from ranged attacks instead of having character protection. But for troops, I took 5 units of 10 Gaunts, again, just to play the objective game, use that high mobility to steal objectives, get those secondaries. And then I finished that 6th troop slot with 1 large unit of 20 Genestealers. I did give them the Adaptive Physiology, the Unnatural reactions. This allows them to heroically intervene up to 6 inches. This means that if you make that turn 1 charge and get up into your opponent's face, and your opponent somehow does not kill them, then they can't really escape from your 6-inch heroic intervention, and you just get to keep hitting them with a very large OBSEC unit. This is very expensive, but can still win you games if you get that first turn. I also took 2 Lictors in the Elite slot just to guarantee the options for deploy scramblers or other secondaries that you may need. And then in Fast Attack, take 2 units of 3 Meiotic Spores. These guys can get in your enemy's lines turn 1 pretty reliably with Kraken, as you start them 9 inches away, so you only need a 4+ on your advance to get within 3 inches of the enemy. And with Kraken, a 4+ advance is all but guaranteed. Finally, this list finishes up with 3 Tyrannifexes with Acid Spray. You kind of need a little bit of shooting in your lists, and as I said, these guys want to park in the middle of the board, and then their shooting is super good for the rest of the game, and Kraken ensures that they get their turn 1 and have as much of the enemy in range as possible for as long as possible. So again, I'll post that list in the description of this video, but let me know what you think of it and of Kraken itself. Otherwise, subscribe so you know when I'm going to be releasing more videos, and the next adaptations of the Hive that we're going to be looking at is going to be Hive Fleet Leviathan. So stay tuned, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks. Bye.